House Speaker Mike Johnson joins us from Capitol Hill. Good morning to you, Speaker. Anyone up there to negotiate with?
There's not, Margaret. Good morning. Good to hear your voice. It's kind of quiet around here. It has been for the last several days, and it's very unfortunate because as we're talking, real people are being adversely affected around the country, and some in very substantial ways. I pray that more Democrats in the Senate will come to their senses and do the right thing. And when they have the next opportunity on Monday to vote to open the government, I surely hope that they will.
Well, you did send your lawmakers home to their districts, which suggests we've got probably another week ahead of us of this shutdown.
House Speaker Mike Johnson has been working overtime to seemingly keep the government shut down, which includes his decision to send half of Congress home to just kick their feet up and chill, while simultaneously trying to come up with some sort of cock and bull story as to how this whole debacle is the fault of the Democrats.
So they created a red herring. A red herring is a distraction. They decided that they would pick a fight on health care. Well, let me look right into the camera and tell you very clearly, Republicans are the ones concerned about health care. Republicans are the party working around the clock every day to fix health care. This is not talking points for us. We've done it. A big part of the One Big Beautiful Bill, the Working Families Tax Cut, was to fix health care. Health care is broken in America. It's too expensive. The quality of care needs to rise. We need more access for more people, and we have lots of ideas to do that. But that issue is for debate in the next 3 months. It always was.
The American healthcare system, in generous terms, is broken. And the only reason it is marginally functional for tens of millions of Americans, if not hundreds of millions of Americans, is because of the Affordable Health Care Act, or the ACA, or Obamacare, which exists in spite of the fact that every Republican at the time voted against it, and Republicans like Mike Johnson and Donald Trump have tried and failed numerous times to kill it. The Republican politicians, establishment, and their donors primarily, fundamentally do not believe that government has a role to play in health care coverage for the American people. They don't believe the government has a role in regulating it. They don't believe the government has a role in directly providing it for Americans. That is until like last week for some reason.
You know, that's the thing. So here we are in the middle of a shutdown. How did we get here? The Republicans in July, and only Republicans, every Democrat voted against this, voted to take away health care from 15 million Americans and drive up the cost of private insurance pretty much for everybody else. Mm-hmm. And the Democrats said back then, there's going to be a budget we're going to have to get done by the end of September. And this is not okay with us. We know that you could pass this thing by yourself now, but you're going to have to do an overall budget. Yeah. You're going to need our votes. We got to talk about this question about health insurance. We are here to fight for American families being able to hang on to their health insurance. Mm-hmm. And you know how much the Republicans wanted to negotiate over the last, 4 months?
Probably none, I'm going to guess.
Zero. Not at all. None. Yeah. Zero.
So in all this time, the Republicans have not even begun to engage in any sort of negotiation regarding bettering the healthcare system for the American people. I mean, think back to the very end of the 2024 presidential cycle when the man at the top of the ticket for the Republican Party was asked about his plan for health care. And he responds, well, I have concepts of a plan.
Sir, you said during the campaign you had concepts of a plan. Do you have an actual plan at this point for health care?
Yes, we have concepts of a plan.
And this person's already president for 4 years. And this is at the end of the cycle, remember. It wasn't like he just decided to run for president the day before. So it seems as though that plan never left that rat's nest of a mind he has. So fast forward till today, and all of a sudden they're blindsided by this. So then the best they can come up with is, is the Democrats' fault. I don't think it's going to fly.
You've said repeatedly that addressing Obamacare subsidies is a December issue, but families are making their open enrollment decisions in October and November. So why shouldn't Congress give families some degree of certainty in a landscape where their premiums could double if this issue isn't taken care of?
I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't do that. What I'm saying is we have to keep the lights on in the building so that we can have those discussions and debates. Republicans have made no assertions about how that will wind up. But December 31st is when the subsidies end. And so we have effectively 3 months to negotiate, in the White House and in the halls of Congress. That's like an eternity. So we need the month of October to figure this out. There's a lot of thought that's gone into that on both sides of the aisle, but we need folks in good faith to come around the table and have that discussion, and we can't do it when the government is shut down. We got to remember, we sent over a very clean, very simple continuing resolution just to buy a little more time so that appropriators in both parties can have their negotiations on appropriations. We just ran out of time. We need more, and that's all this is about.
But you're going to discuss it and potentially make a decision on these ACA subsidies after families have made their decisions. How is that fair to them?
Well, not necessarily.
Just chill, everybody. There's a little bit more road left to keep kicking this can down before we freak out. That's why I have sent the House of Representatives home, because they don't have to bother negotiating to save you people's health care. I mean, I still have my health care coverage no matter what we do, even if the government is shut down. But you can figure something else out. It's not that big of a deal. Mike Johnson is here not giving a piss about you like he always does, but he seems to be under the impression that it will just be Democratic voters who are going to struggle if the subsidies that the ACA called for sunset. And I believe he might be mistaken. Take a look.
Again, that funding runs out December 31st. The month of October is a critical time for us to get to this, but we can't when Chuck Schumer keeps voting to shut the government down for political reasons. That's purely and simply what's happening here.
You believe you have time here, but our partner at health policy think tank KFF reported 80% of all premium tax credits went to Obamacare enrollees in Trump-won states. Red states.
The Republican Party is in for a rude awakening, I suspect, if they believe that their way out of this can just include gaslighting the American people into believing that the Democrats are to blame, despite the fact that they control both chambers of Congress, the White House, and the Supreme Court. But that's their plan, it seems. That's Mike Johnson's plan. He seems to just gaslight and blame the Democrats and just flat out lie about the effects that this will have on most people's lives while staring at us with those dead shark eyes that he has.
Should families plan on paying more next year for health care?
Boy, I hope not. I mean, we're working to bring the costs down. We did that. We demonstrated it in the Working Families Tax Cut, the One Big Beautiful Bill, where we didn't cut Medicaid. We shored it up. We supported it. Why? Because we eliminated fraud, waste, and abuse. And don't take my word for it. Look at the CBO's analysis. The Congressional Budget Office says we're going to save $185 billion just in waste and abuse, which is going to make the program work better for the people who depend upon it.
They also say millions of Americans will lose access to Medicaid because of that. But I want to stay focused.
Not Americans, illegal aliens and able-bodied workers.
I think we both know that that's a misleading point here, because this is talking about people with legal status, not people who are here illegally.
Not true. Remember that under the 4 years of the Biden administration, when they opened the border wide and we had about 20 million illegal aliens come into the country, they just granted asylum and parole status to everybody.
Recognize what you're saying, but it's people who were granted asylum or parole, and so they were working through the process legally.
There was Speaker Mike Johnson claiming that they shored up Medicaid so that it can function a little better for you guys. That is now going to be a more efficient system that would be popular with the American people. That in mind makes it a little suspicious as to why they chose to make the effective date of those changes after the midterm. Seemed like to me if you shored it up and made it function better and more efficiently, you would want the American people to experience that before they voted you back into office. Mike Johnson is certainly no dummy. He is well aware that there is a massive wall of mess coming for the American people. And when it hits both you and his voters, there won't be a lie big enough that he could tell to save his skin. That's why we're finally getting a fight out of the Democratic Party in this. That's why people like John McCain, way back when Trump initially tried to kill Obamacare, he saved us with that heroic thumb of his, because they recognize that the American people are already at their wits' end, just at the breaking point when it comes to the failures of our government in regards to the healthcare system. Americans pay orders of tens of magnitude more than every other developed nation does in healthcare prices. We're the only major nation of this level of wealth that does not guarantee healthcare as a right instead of a privilege. But Donald Trump and Speaker Johnson don't believe you've suffered just quite enough. They still think they can squeeze just a little more suffering out of you to please their donors before you reach your breaking point. I, for one, think they're wrong.